Would you destroy someone's livelihood over a dog? Because I did, and I'm not sure I regret it. Marcus moved in next door 2 years ago. Nice enough guy at first. We'd wave when we saw each other, make small talk about the weather. He worked from home doing something with graphic design, and he had this German shepherd named Bruno. Beautiful dog, but huge. The problems started gradually. Bruno would bark at everything. Every delivery truck, every jogger, every leaf that had the audacity to blow across the yard. But it was manageable during the day. The real nightmare began when Marcus started leaving Bruno outside at night. I'm talking every single night. This dog would bark from 11 p.m. until sometimes 4 in the morning. Long, echoing barks that bounced off every house on the block. I work early shifts at the hospital. I need to be up at 5 a.m., which means I need to be asleep by 10. Instead, I was lying awake listening to Bruno's one-dog concert. I tried everything reasonable first. I knocked on Marcus's door, explained the situation politely. He apologized, promised to bring Bruno in earlier. It worked for maybe 3 nights. Then right back to the same pattern. I left a note in his mailbox. Nothing. I even bought earplugs, tried white noise machines, moved to the guest bedroom on the other side of the house. But Bruno was loud enough to wake the dead. After 6 months of this, I was falling apart, making mistakes at work because I was so tired, getting snappy with patients, forgetting simple procedures. My supervisor noticed and asked if everything was okay at home. I felt humiliated having to explain that my neighbor's dog was ruining my life. So I called the city about the noise ordinance. They sent someone out twice, but Marcus was smart about it. He'd bring Bruno in whenever he saw the city vehicle coming. The officer told me there wasn't much they could do without catching him in the act. That's when I started paying closer attention to what Marcus was actually doing over there. And that's when I realized he wasn't just working from home as a graphic designer. He was running a full-scale business. People coming and going all day, commercial deliveries, multiple cars in the driveway during what were clearly business meetings. All in a residential zone where home businesses require permits. I spent 2 weeks documenting everything. Took photos of the commercial trucks, counted the client meetings, researched the zoning laws. Marcus was clearly violating about 6 different city ordinances. No business permit, no parking permits for commercial vehicles, exceeding the client visit limits for home offices. The fines alone would cost him thousands. But here's what really made it devastating. I discovered he was also running the business under a different name than what was registered with the city. That meant potential tax issues, licensing problems. The whole thing could shut him down completely. Not just fines, his entire livelihood. I knew this when I called the city planning office. I knew exactly what would happen. The inspector told me they'd investigate within the week, and if they found violations, Marcus would have 30 days to either get proper permits or shut down the business entirely. Given how long he'd been operating illegally, getting permits retroactively would be nearly impossible. The night before I made the call, I stood in my backyard listening to Bruno bark at absolutely nothing, and I felt this cold satisfaction thinking about what I was about to do. Marcus had ignored my polite requests, my notes, my attempts to find a reasonable solution. He'd made it clear that his convenience mattered more than my sleep, my job, my health. So I was going to make his problem bigger than mine. I made the call the next morning, gave them Marcus's address, detailed every violation I'd documented, sent photos. The inspector was there 3 days later. I watched from my kitchen window as she took pictures, knocked on his door, handed him a stack of papers. Marcus knocked on my door that evening. I could see he'd been crying. He asked if I knew anything about the city complaint, and I lied right to his face. Told him I had no idea, that it was probably one of the other neighbors finally getting fed up with all the noise and traffic. He told me he was going to lose everything. The business was his only income, and he'd been supporting his elderly mother with the money. He'd have to move back to his hometown in Ohio, probably declare bankruptcy, all over what he called some paperwork issues. I stood there nodding sympathetically while thinking about all the nights I'd lain awake furious. About the morning, I'd almost crashed my car driving to work because I was so exhausted. About how he'd ignored every attempt I'd made to solve this reasonably. The city shut him down 2 weeks later. Marcus moved out a month after that. Bruno went with him, obviously. I finally got my quiet nights back. But the thing is, I could have just reported the noise violations and kept documenting until they caught him. I didn't need to destroy his entire business. I chose to. A new family moved in 3 months ago. They have a toddler who squeals with delight in the backyard every afternoon. It's actually kind of sweet. Sometimes I wonder if Marcus ever found work in Ohio, if his mother is okay. But then I remember lying awake at midnight listening to that damn dog, and I think about how good it felt to finally sleep through the night. I solved my problem. Maybe I solved it too completely, but I solved it. And honestly, I think I'd do it again. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments.